Ooh, alrighty.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so that's really cool. So we have tarantulas, we have insects, and we have
Snakes and
reptiles.
tortoise, turtles, lizards, all that fun.
Okay. And Lauren, what do you take care of at Pasadena Humane?
So at Pasadena Humane, we have a wildlife rehabilitation program. And so most of the animals that come to us are sick or injured or orphaned. And so a lot of them are things like possums or pigeons or squirrels, lots of different, whatever you guys find in your backyard, usually.
All right, very cool. So the whole thing about today is we are trying to learn what kind of clues do animals give us so we can learn about them, the world around them, and how do we live better, right? So we are gonna be playing Kahoot while we're doing this. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and save them for the very end or drop them in the chat box and we'll see how much time we have at the end to get to them. But let's go ahead and get rocking and rolling, guys. So we are gonna pull up our Kahoot game. You can use your web browser or you can use a separate phone to be able to play this game, alrighty? So let's get started. Ooh, we have one more, there we go. Okay. Give me 1 second. Gotta switch over my view. There we go. But yeah, so today is gonna be a whole lot of fun. We're gonna be looking at some stuff and we may even have a scat chat. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be pretty scattily. Share screen. Awesome sauce. Okay, guys. So game pin is loading on your screen. 928-5912. We're gonna give everybody about 3 minutes to log on. So if you are running into issues, let us know. Alrighty, Sarah and Lizzie and Cara, you're first up. Dance, dance, dance. Get it, get it, get it, get it. Dance, 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 dance. Okay, guys, I'm gonna give you another minute to go ahead and try to get on. Alrighty, and for those that aren't able to see, I'm going to be dropping the game pin in the chat box if you need it. That's going to be 928-5912, guys. So we have 10 people on so far. Ooh, we're up to 11. Alrighty, guys, so we are gonna go ahead and get started. Let us begin. Alrighty, so animal clues at Kidspace. 3, 2, 1. Let's take a poll. How many of you have been to the Kidspace Museum? little loud. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. All right, so most of you have and most of you haven't. Mr. Miguel, for those who have never been here before, how do they get to Kidspace?
Well, we're located in the Rose Bowl area. We're located in Lot I as Irene. And what you do is you show up there, you park in Lot I, and then if you look, you'll see a white building past the park area. You walk up that service road past this electric gate, and you get the Kidspace.
All righty. And I know we've done some work at Kidspace before, Lauren. What kind of things do we do at Kidspace with wildlife?
So the last couple times I've been there, we've done releases. So when we have, when our possums or our squirrels are big enough to be out on their own, then we find nice spaces like Kidspace that have lots of really great natural food sources, like the big oaks that they have out there. Are a great food source for a lot of different species, including a lot of the animals that we rehabilitate. So it's a really nice spot for us to release wildlife.
Okay, so guys, if you ever go to Kidspace, be on the lookout for maybe a juvenile possum that we've released, or squirrels or of the sort. Chances are we helped raise it. Alrighty, so let's see. What do you guys think the arroyo is? Is it an arroyo? A very long explanation, or maybe you don't know. And I need you guys to know I had a lot of fun creating these questions and answers. So there's a lot of my humor here. So that is correct. A 24.9 mile long seasonal river. That is what the arroyo is. But Mr. Miguel, can you give us some more information about what exactly this is?
Well, the Arroyo, like we said, it's a seasonal river. It kind of starts up high in the San Gabriel Mountains and goes between 22 to 24 miles through, La Cañada, Flint Ridge, Altadena, Pasadena, South Pasadena, and eventually makes its way out to the Pacific Ocean, past LA. And Kidspace is located in the central Arroyo area, which is pretty good. It's about an 8-mile span. We're by the Devil's Gate Bridge and the freeway. So that's kind of where we're located, which is cool. So we're surrounded by a lot of urban wildlife in this area because there's a lot of mixture of, homes and buildings and a lot of parks and outside areas like the Hucamonga that I know Lauren could probably talk more about. And a lot of, there's like 22 miles worth of hiking trails. And so there's a lot of native birds, mammals, reptiles here. So it's kind of a fun place to visit. And Kidspace, of course, is here, along with the Rose Bowl and the Aquatic Center if you like to swim.
Alrighty, so there's a whole bunch there going on. You guys can go maybe visit the Aquatic Center. That might be really cool. Or, drop a visit at Kidspace, especially since you guys are open to the public, right?
Yes, we're now open to the public. Currently, we're open Wednesday through Sunday. So if you want to join us here at Kidspace, go to kidspacemuseum.org. And right now it's timed admissions because we're still limited on capacity. So go ahead and make your reservations there.
Alrighty, guys. Sounds like the perfect time to visit.
Leaderboard.
So here's our leaderboard. Keep an eye out for those early up and comers, guys. Word cloud. What kind of animals do you think live in the Arroyo? Type in your answers. Oh, looks like everyone's typing in an answer. Awesome. So we have squirrels. Someone thinks tigers live there, frogs, bugs, birds, deer, fish. Hi to whoever said hi. And I don't know what this is.
Amphibian? Maybe.
Oh, you're good. See, this is how you know who has children.
And we're checking space.
Alrighty, so Lauren and Miguel, how many of these animals are in the Arroyo?
Well, first of all, I love that fish are up there, because a lot of people don't think about fish as part of urban wildlife, but they recently, as we discussed before, they recently discovered steelhead trout in the Arroyo, which is very special, because we haven't seen it in the Arroyo in a long time, which should hopefully offer some more protections. And it's just very exciting. It's a good sign that it's a healthy habitat and a healthy ecosystem once we see lots of diversity of species. But there's some of those amphibians and frogs and other things too. There are foxes. We don't see them that often because foxes usually like to hang out farther away from people. They're a little bit shyer than, say, like coyotes. But similar sort of niche that they fulfill. We definitely see some deers, lots of different birds. I love that someone said bugs, because sometimes we forget that bugs are animals too. And definitely snakes as well. So all kinds of urban wildlife lives in the Arroyo. So it's really important that we make sure that we appreciate it and take care of it, and make sure we're picking up after ourselves when we're outside, and just making sure to keep it really beautiful and a good home to all these animals.
Yeah, that's super important, especially picking up after ourselves, because we're kind of the main contributors to pollution and all those things that really, really hurt animals. But yeah, anything to add to this list, Miguel?
We don't have tigers in Arroyo, but I have seen the occasional bobcat. And probably around the foothills, maybe along the whole Arroyo, we do get the occasional mountain lion. We do get those, but it just depends whether it's part of their, we don't see them that much. So I'm assuming we're probably just in their home range, not their territory. So that's why they're not seen as frequently, but they're also more secretive too. It's kind of like, and it's not the kind of environment that that they like, but we will see more coyotes and the occasional bobcat.
Alrighty, so keep your eyes peeled at the Arroyo. Next up, this is multi-select. You could pick more than one answer. What kind of clues do you think animals leave behind? So do they leave behind den, scat, also known as poop, footprints, or do they not leave clues? They just fade into darkness like ninjas. And I need everyone to know that that man is smelling poop. So the correct answer was den, scat, and footprints. Those are three of the big things that animals will leave behind, but there are some other clues that animals leave, right? So what kind of other clues do animals leave, Miguel?
They'll leave maybe possible fur. They'll leave like in reptiles, they'll leave shed skins. They'll leave signs that that something was either eaten there, like left behind, whether it be vegetation or you find a deceased animals that say a bobcat got like a squirrel. We'll see they'll leave remains of stuff. But and you'll also see various things. Like birds. You'll see nests. You will see stuff like that. So we'll see a variety of things. It's just one of those things where you just have to go out there and just look for things. Not use your investigative eyes. Be like a detective. Look for clues. That's the key. So I know upcoming we'll introduce you to various clues you can look for.
Okay, and then Lauren, whenever we have somebody who say calls and said oh, I have a crazy possum in my backyard, are there any clues that you guys have to look for when it goes to going to get wildlife?
Yeah, that's a really good question. A lot of times people don't know what kind of animal is, tearing up their yard or living under their house because they don't see it, because usually maybe it's nocturnal, which means that it only comes out at night. So we ask them a lot of questions to try and figure out what kind of animal it is, and we have to kind of put on our clue finder hat too. So we usually ask what kind of damage they're causing. So if it's something that's digging up their yard, we know that it probably has good diggy front paws. And if you look at possum hands are fingers kind of like ours. They're not really great for digging. So we usually think the ones that are tearing up, grass and stuff are usually raccoons, or more often than not skunks, because skunks are insectivores, so they like to eat all the little bugs in the dirt. And that's why that's one of the clues that they leave behind, is they'll leave behind these holes, or they're tearing up their people's yards looking for those most delicious bugs.
Alrighty. So, hey, they kind of help, right? They eat bugs that maybe we think are gross. So thanks, skunks.
Totally.
Ooh, Amira with the steal. All right. What animal built this home? What do you think? Was it a sparrow, a hawk, an eagle, or a hummingbird? What do we think based off of size? What's going on with it? Gotta take all the clues in. Okay, so kind of a mixed bag, but yes, it is a sparrow. Now, nobody said eagle. Lauren, why would this not belong to an eagle?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. First, you look at the size, and if you guys know eagles, they're much bigger. So if they tried to land on that nest, it would be the size of like one of their feet. But yeah, so smart thinking there, guys. And eagles and hawks are both birds of prey, so they usually have pretty sturdy nests that are built out of bigger sticks and stuff. And they're usually found at the very tip tops of trees up high, so they could get a good view of everything. The sparrows like to use things like hair and string and a little bit softer materials. Sometimes other animals' feathers and fur too, they'll weave in there. So that's what we look for.
Alrighty. And Miguel, do we see a lot of sparrows nests at Kidspace? Is that like a thing?
Yeah, they're one of the common wild birds that are up in this area. We see a lot. That nest right there was knocked over by the high winds a few weeks ago, but luckily there was, it was an abandoned nest. That's why it came off. But yep, but it's very common. We see quite a few native birds and migratory birds cutting through here in the Arroyo.
Oh, what kind of other birds do you see?
We'll get various ducks and geese. Those are the most common ones. There's other ones that like they come and go, but they usually don't linger here. They'll go to other parts of the Arroyo.
Okay, so they're kind of searching out that wild or wide open water and stuff. All right.
Yeah, because here it's a little bit more because it's urban, so it's a mixture of humans and wildlife. So some of these native birds don't like to. It's just too much activity for them, so they like to be more reclusive.
All right, good to know. All right, a little bit of change. What do you guys think lived in this den? Take in your clues. So we have lizard, gopher, ground squirrel, or mountain lion. Majority of you said gopher, and this is a gopher hole, right, Miguel?
That is correct. Good job, guys. The majority of you got it right.
But Lauren, would a gopher be the only thing that lives in this hole?
No, it's kind of a trick question, right? Because ground squirrels will use those holes too. Lizards will sometimes go and live in there. Snakes, gopher snakes will go and live in those holes. So even though the gophers made them, a lot of different animals use them, and it's really important for us to appreciate gophers, because a lot of times people are thinking, oh, gophers are just pests, but they actually are really important because they create a nice home that a lot of different species get to use.
And do we see that a lot in nature? Do animals kind of take over other habitats or other dens and things like that, nests?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's things called keystone species that really impact many other species within an ecosystem. And something like a live oak tree too, which are very common around here, is going to be host to hundreds of different species of different kinds of animals, bugs, birds, even other plants. And so so it's all very interconnected, and even humans, you know, we benefit from having nice big oak trees like that too. And I know it might be hard to think of how humans would benefit from gophers, but they're actually really good for the soil. So it helps turn up the soil, it helps aerate it, and soil has its own ecosystem in the dirt. And so it's really important that, you know, when we're driving on things or walking over things, it gets really compacted. And so gophers can go in and kind of open those up and bring some air in, so that way things can live in the soil and make it really healthy and good for plants to grow.
Very cool. So it's really interesting to think about these animals where some people think of them as kind of a pain in the butt. They dig holes in yards, maybe they don't make them look as nice, but they serve a purpose.
Absolutely.
Ooh, Violet's coming in on a close second, guys.
Yeah.
So, which animal left this poop? What do you guys think? Was this snake poop, lizard poop, raccoon poop, or bird poop? What are we thinking? The wonderful world of poop. So a lot of you guys thought this was raccoon poop, but it's actually snake poop. How is this snake poop, Miguel?
Well, if we go back to the picture, I can help you guys look. See that white cap? Usually with reptiles, that's kind of the telltale. You see the either a white tip or that white, which is basically urates, which is like kind of like the way they, mammals excrete urine, and what reptiles do is that they basically produce they make a suspension of uric acid, salts, and waters and stuff, and they make this chalky-like material, and it helps them reabsorb more water. Because their system is different than mammals. So that's usually the classic. And also the stool, the poop, the brown part, is that oblong kind of shape. This is, of course, a snake. You could tell it probably had more than one meal because there's like several. But that's usually the classic tail. With reptiles is that white cap. You'll either see it at the tip of one of those brown stems, or with this snake, it had a very large bowel movement. So had a lot of stool and a lot of uric acid in the middle, urates in the middle.
Okay, so because it's a bigger poop, does that mean it's a bigger snake?
Yeah, it's bigger. It's one of the bigger things. Yeah, it's not something small like, say, like a ringneck snake. It's generally like an average size snake, like a python, but also depends on the size of the snake. Say if it's a young snake, it could be that, but that one you could tell it's had multiple meals. I could just tell by looking at the poop, the brown stuff, the stool.
All righty, so you guys heard it here. You see a brown cap on top of it. I'm sorry, a white cap. It's probably snake poop.
Or reptile poop in general. It doesn't always have to be snake, it can be reptile.
So type in your answer. What kind of animal do you think left this scat? So we learned a clue last time that might help with this.
Yeah, if you were paying attention, I gave you the classic clue to look for.
I love our job that we get to talk about poop and it's
Exactly.
totally normal.
Exactly.
So squirrel, snake, lizard, people don't know, but lizard is the correct one with this. What is the difference between snake and lizard?
They're a little similar because lizards just make that small little kind of pellet. They're being insectivores for the most part. Around here, that's like typical fence lizard or alligator lizard poop. It's like a little pellet. Then it has a classic white tip, white to yellowish tip, which is the urates. So that's the classic tail that it's because sometimes people go, oh, is that bird? No, birds typically has that splatter. They'll have that same white, but it's a splatter. It's like someone threw that poop in there. It's just because they have more liquid. Their digestive system is a little different than reptiles. They're similar, but different in a way.
Alrighty. And do we take care of reptiles at Pasadena Humane, Lauren?
Yeah, we have both domestic reptiles and wild reptiles. So we will sometimes adopt out domestic reptiles like bearded dragons and iguanas and some snakes, and but we also sometimes get in wild reptiles that, more often than not, the reason that they're brought in is because they're tangled up in like garden netting or stuck on a sticky trap. So it's really important that if you have a garden and you're trying to control your pests, that you take into account some of these good pests that you do want around, things like gopher snakes or rat snakes and, you know, lizards and things that are going to be beneficial to a garden, to an ecosystem. So garden netting, you just want to be careful with the kind of size that you're using. Anything bigger than 1/4 inch, you're probably going to catch some animals in. And then same with using sticky glue traps. We really want to avoid using those because they, for one, it's not a very fast and painless way for pest control, but it's also going to catch a lot of things that you don't necessarily mean to catch. So just a little PSA there for that.
No, very true. Because I feel like sometimes people get so focused on what they don't like, they don't think about the things that aren't beneficial to us that might get hurt in the process. So very good point out. All righty, enough of that poop. So now let's look at this clue. What animal do you think left this clue? A legless lizard, an iguana, a snake, or a Komodo dragon? Very good. It was a snake. How often does your snake shed, Lauren? I know you have a really cute one named Sally.
Yeah, she sheds every once in a while, you know, a couple times a year, maybe once a month if she's feeling really itching to go. But you know, when they're younger, I mean, Miguel could correct me on this because he's the reptile guy, but I think when they're younger they shed more often, don't they? Because they're growing.
Yes, they tend to grow, shed up more often as they grow. And also depends also too how much they're consuming in food and how fast they're growing. That'll determine, you know, animals that are more successful will grow faster and shed quicker. In captivity, it just depends how often you feed it too. But each snake's kind of an individual. Some can grow quickly, just like, you know, they could have been from the same group of hatchlings, and some just grow quicker than others. It could be an individual thing too. So I say it could be monthly initially, then it goes to maybe every few months. And then like Lauren says, it could be just as infrequent as maybe once or twice a year, depending on how old it is, how big it is, and how often it's consuming food.
All righty. So every snake varies, things like that. What kind of snakes do we see at Kidspace?
That we house or that we see around the area?
Let's go around the area.
Well, we'll go with the wild ones.
Oh, sorry, I think I froze a little bit. Yeah, the wild ones.
Yeah. We see gopher snakes. We see ringneck snakes. What else do we see? We see striped racers. There are also king snakes in this area. I've yet to see a wild one, but we do house one here at Kidspace. But those are common too. There's various kinds. There are also rattlesnakes in the area. The Southern Pacific rattlesnake's a real common snake around here. I've yet to see one here. I think there's just too much commotion for them to really hang out. But sometimes during the drier seasons, they might come down, not just so much looking for water, but also following the rodents that are also looking for water. So they come more into the urban areas, like the housing area. So then sometimes the snakes come and follow the food. So it's not like so much that they want to live here, it's that they're just following the food.
Okay. Very cool. Let's see.
Who's winning? Let's see. Amira's still in the lead.
Amira, she's in the game, guys. But Max and Elliot, you guys have a streak going. Good job. So what are some ways we can physically identify a venomous from a non-venomous? And this is assuming we're in a safe space to be able to do so. Because please don't touch snakes, guys. Just don't do it. But pupil size, head shape, their colors, or all of the above? All of the above, right? But I know there's something really interesting about color patterns. What is it, Lauren?
I'm muted, sorry. The rhyme that I learned when I was a kid to tell the difference between, I think it's coral snakes and king snakes. The mountain king snakes are similar, have similar patterns to the venomous coral snakes. And so I was taught red touch yellow, kill a fellow, red touch black, friend of Jack. And that's stuck with me ever since I was, 8 years old, probably.
Okay, so there's rhymes to help us figure things out. Do color patterns ever try to trick us, Miguel?
Yes, they do, because that rhyme that Lauren just mentioned pretty much applies to the eastern coral snake. Once you get outside the US, there's a lot of snakes that don't have that same variation. So you really have to know what you're looking at. You could be looking at red doesn't touch yellow, and the white is not yellow. It's kind of an off-white, but it's still a coral snake just because it's different. You talked about head shape. That also throws them off. Coral snakes have that more thicker head because they have the venom glands in the back. But yeah, if you're Eastern stuff like Eastern United States, that rhyme really works well. But once you go south of the border down to either South America, Mexico, other places, do not count on that rhyme to save you. If it's a tricolored snake with 3 colors, just best to admire it from a distance and not try to pick it up.
Yeah, sounds about right. So what would be the rule of thumb if, like, say you're taking a hiking trip to the Arroyo and you see a snake? What should you do?
Well, if it's in your path, just kind of, if it's just cruising along, just kind of stop and it'll keep going and avoid you. Usually they sense you coming before you approach, so you probably won't ever see them. You might even hear the rustling of the bushes or leaves as they scatter. They will warn you in case you come up on one suddenly. If you start out like a rattlesnake will rattle. And if you get that, you want to be at least within more than 3 feet from it, because that's usually an adult striking range. So just or just leave them be. If you don't know, you could also take a picture of it, load it up to iNatural. iNatural is that's what it's called, right, Lauren?
Yeah, the iNaturalist app.
Yeah, or you could go ahead and then with Google, it's just you could take the image and just show it, and then it'll kind of tell you a ballpark of what it is. If you have a trained eye like me, I kind of could tell right away it's a venomous snake, non-venomous. But around here, they're merely all harmless except for the rattlesnake.
Okay, so you heard it here, guys. Keep a wide berth away from it. You don't want to make any assumptions unless you are a trained snake person, and let them live their life. Kenzie coming in.
Ooh, coming in strong at number 2.
So, true or false? This gopher snake is venomous. What are we thinking? Oh, half and half, right down the middle. So, gopher snake, dangerous or not dangerous, Miguel?
Nope, not dangerous unless you're a rodent or a lizard.
Yeah, you're dangerous if you're a gopher.
Do you want to show that picture again, Izzy, so we can talk about those different things?
Yep, there's the round pupil we were talking about. It has a very narrow head, doesn't have like the big, there's no venom glands. It kind of, to the untrained eye though, its coloration and pattern can look like a Southern Pacific rattlesnake. So unfortunately they are confused they're killed a lot by people thinking it is a rattlesnake. Because one of the defenses too is to wiggle its tail and like the dry leaves and stuff and make a rattle noise, and they'll rear up and hiss, they'll act tough. But it's all bluff. But the thing is, people think, ooh, and it's rattling, making a rattling noise. It's mimicking, and people assume it's a rattlesnake. But no, these guys are great. These guys help control, instead of using sticky traps and rat traps, if you see these around your house or yard or neighborhood, hey, they're taking care of all the rodents in your area.
Alrighty, guys. So yeah, that's, I guess, another really important reason why to leave snakes alone, right? We don't know if they're helping the area or if they might pose a threat to us. So just kind of let wildlife be. Another true or false. This California king snake is venomous. Gotta say, guys, I'm loving this color snake. It's like a cow snake. Alrighty, so a little less split. What is it, guys? Venomous, non-venomous?
No,
Not venomous.
not.
If it was venomous, I wouldn't be holding one right now.
There we
Oh,
go.
what a
Twins.
reveal.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this king snake.
So this is the California king snake. King snakes in general are found throughout California, and they go into Oregon and New Mexico, Arizona, and various species. These are found more here in California, down in the San Diego, into the high desert areas. The ones around here tend to be more tricolored, like the mountain kings. But this is the typical California king. You could find them in two colors. Usually they're this black and white, or they're even like this dark brown and white. Sometimes they're even striped patterns. They come in various, they're polymorphic, meaning that they could come in various patterns and colors. So sometimes you'll find striped versions of them. And these guys are great at rodent control. These guys are fierce, predators. They're very active. They eat everything from rodents to other reptiles. They get the name king snake from the fact that they eat venomous snakes. They'll eat rattlesnakes. So actually, if you don't like rattlesnakes, these guys will take care of the excess guys for you. They have a tolerance. Some say immunity, but they're pretty much tolerant, the wild ones, to if they get bit by a pit viper, to be resistant and still be successful and consume one and eat one without dying.
Very cool. And how long have you guys had this snake?
Her name is Keys, like piano keys, get it? Because she looks like a piano key.
Uh-huh.
We've had her almost 3 years here at Kidspace.
Okay. And how long do they typically live?
They average in captivity 10 to 15 years, longer if proper care and husbandry is met, which is feeding, watering, keep them healthy. These guys, you don't have to go and catch these. These are captively produced in captivity. So if you do consider getting one of these, when there's a reptile show, whatever, generally you'll probably find these available babies, younger ones. This one's an adult. This one's just over 4 feet. She's pretty long.
Cute.
I love the belly.
And is that how big they get, or is she going to get longer as she gets older?
They average 4 feet, but they can, over their lifetime, they're long enough, they could hit almost 6 feet. But they're not thick. They're just kind of, maybe, but this is probably as thick as they get. They'll just get longer.
Okay, so they're just cute little noodles. Love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Not venomous. Oh, Violet overtaking Amira.
Oh.
So what kind of predators live in the Arroyo? We've talked about different kinds of prey animals. Now let's look at some predators. Do we think coyotes, bobcats, hawks, these and many more? What are we thinking? Looking about right. So Lauren, how many of these predators, or what other predators can you think about that live in the Arroyo?
Well, these are the big ones, right? Coyotes and bobcats. Hawks are the main bird predator. But also, like the snakes are considered predators too. But there's a lot, and so it's really important for us to talk about kind of the food chain and how it all sort of works together, and that predators have a very important role in our ecosystem for various reasons. They clean up a lot. A lot of these animals are, they're opportunistic, which just means that they will eat whatever they can find. So a lot of that is, roadkill. and other things that, we don't really like to see dead animals laying around. So coyotes will eat dead animals. Bobcats sometimes, not as much. And hawks, they'll usually, when they're first learning how to fly, or not how to fly, but how to hunt, when they're like first year, they rely on sort of the younger babies. And so if you think about it, that what the possums have 13 babies usually, and only a couple of them actually make it into adulthood. And that's the same thing with ducks and geese. They have a lot of babies, because some of those babies are going to be a good food source for things like hawks who are just learning how to hunt. So sometimes it can seem kind of sad sometimes, but it's actually really, it's a full cycle, and it's really important. Every animal has a very important role in our ecosystem to make sure that it stays healthy and balanced. And a healthy and balanced ecosystem is really important for humans as well.
Oh, so true. And just kind of with everything, the more in balance we are, the better things are going to be. So we are coming up a little close to our end time, guys. So if you do have questions for Miss Lauren, Mr. Miguel, or in general about wildlife, go ahead and start putting those in the chat box, and we'll get to as many as we can. But let's keep going. All right.
Oh my God, so tight.
It's so tight. True or false? Coyotes can adapt to live in most places. The beautiful and majestic coyote, guys. This is very true. And I know you are a coyote enthusiast, Lauren. So what kind of adaptations can coyotes make?
Coyotes are super adaptable, just like humans. They've really learned how to thrive in urban environments and neighborhoods where there's lots of abundance of resources. So because they're opportunistic omnivores, they can eat pretty much anything. A lot of people think of coyotes as just being carnivores, but they'll eat, fruits that's fallen off your tree. They'll eat out of your trash can. They'll eat your salad you left out. They'll eat pet food. They love pet food. So make sure you're feeding your pets inside if you don't want the coyotes around. And if you do want the coyotes around, still don't feed your pets outside, because you want them. We want to make sure that they stay wild so that they still have a healthy fear of people. And if you do see them around your neighborhood, they're not coming down from the mountains. They're born and raised in our neighborhoods. They're just as regular as squirrels and possums. But it's important that you always make sure to make yourself look big, make lots of noise. You can squirt them with the hose, throw things at them. And that's going to be good. That's going to be good for both them and for us, because it's going to remind them that we're the top of the food chain. Like I was talking about before, the food chain, it's a very important cycle. So it's important that they still maintain a healthy fear of us, so that way there's less conflict. Because 9 times out of 10 times when people get bit by coyotes, it's because they're trying to feed them. Kind of like rattlesnakes, people really only get bit by rattlesnakes when they're handling them or trying to pick them up. So it's really important to keep those things in mind.
Very cool. And then Miguel, do we see a good amount of coyotes in the Arroyo?
Yes, we do. We see our fair share. They do come around because they come after, like I said, they come after stuff that the people in the park leave behind, food, trash that they don't throw away. They do go after, they try to get, they're opportunistic, so they will try to get the occasional squirrel that's not paying attention, or bird. And they're also very opportunistic. Like they'll even, like if something just naturally passes away in the Arroyo, like they'll just, they'll eat it, so it's, they're pretty adaptable. And we usually see almost if you come here early enough in the morning, you'll always see a couple, cruising through the park, just cruising, trying to see what they could get.
They're really smart. So they're kind of like our dogs' brilliant genius cousins. I think they're probably smarter than most dogs that have been bred for human domestication. But they can figure out how to get in and out of places. They can dig under fences. They can jump over fences. They can, squeeze through things. They're just very, very smart, very capable, very well adapted.
All righty. So I actually wanted to address a question that popped in. Somebody's asking if coyotes and a medium-sized dog that I guess is about the size of coyote can play together. Is that something that they naturally do?
Can is the key word there. They can. I saw a video actually recently of a stray dog and a coyote wandering around the streets. Because like I said, they're like cousins. And so they can, but it's not a good idea to let your dog go and play with a coyote because they can also transmit some diseases to and from your pets, and it also would make them more comfortable with humans if you allowed them to interact with your pet. And that's something that we really don't want because that's going to be harmful to both coyotes and to humans.
Alrighty, makes sense. Okay, guys. So what kind of prey do you think coyotes hunt? So we talked about how adaptable they are. So what kind of things do you think go into the coyote's diet? And remember, if you have any questions, put them in the chat box and we will answer them in a little bit. All right, looks like we're getting a good amount of answers in. We're up to 15. Couple more seconds, guys. So we got small animals, birds and snakes, squirrels, rodents, whole bunch of rodents, small dogs and rats, mice, rabbits, squirrels, anything with meat on it. And someone put an emoji of a rabbit, which is really cute. So what do you think is left off the list, guys? What's missing?
Cats.
Yeah.
Cats, all right. That's sad.
Which is why it's important to keep your cats indoors or to build a catio. Little plug there.
Which is very true. We are going to be doing something with catios, I believe, next week. If you guys are interested, learn how to build them, guys. But do they eat insects too? Is that something that they do?
I don't see why not. If it's something like a big caterpillar that looks delicious, I'm sure they would.
Grubs, they come across some grubs, they might go after it.
All right, so just basically anything they can chomp, chomp, chomp.
Anything, yeah.
I don't think they want to put possums.
Oh,
Maybe go after them too. They go after possums too. They'll go
Okay.
they go after raccoons too. I mean, raccoons are formidable, but if they're small enough, they'll take them on.
So raccoons are
I've
feisty.
seen some
I like it.
big raccoons though.
I know.
I'm more scared of raccoons than of coyotes, to be honest.
Oh, raccoons are cute. I love them. Okay, guys, last question. What kind of prey do you think hawks hunt? She is beauty, she is grace. But what kind of... And while we're waiting for people to answer, what kind of hawk is this, Lauren?
Oh gosh. Maybe either red tail or red shoulder, maybe?
You agree, Miguel?
Yeah, it's hard to tell because it's all expanded out. It looks possibly red tail, but it's easier when they're actually like landed and you could actually see them. Right now you see pretty much only the underneath his feathers.
So dogs and birds, mice, small animals, snakes and rodents, a worm,
Fish.
other birds.
Snakes, yeah. I saw a hawk carrying a snake over the freeway one time. It was so cool.
Yep.
It looked like a flag. Isn't that like the Mexico flag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an eagle holding a serpent.
An eagle, yeah.
Okay, so all of this stuff sounds like it'd be in a hawk's diet.
Yeah, they don't so much eat other birds. They can, but usually the falcons are the ones that are hunting other smaller birds. But pretty much everything else looks right on.
Alrighty.
So I've seen some of the hawks here take some of the
Pigeons and
fledgling
stuff.
birds. They'll take
Oh.
fledgling like crows and stuff, and then we see the shower of feathers as they're consuming them up in our oak trees. But yeah, they will go after them, and then crows are always trying to shoo them away. And then I've actually seen a red-tailed hawk turn on a crow that was trying to shoot it away. It took it out of the, he took it in the air, which was surprising. But it was a fun thing to watch. But yeah, but you're right. They normally go for easy things. They normally go for rodents.
Yeah, I think the more like grounded birds they'll go for, like you said, like the fledglings and stuff. They're not gonna as often go for other birds in flight unless, like you were kind of talking about, like they're actually like in a fight.
Right. Yeah, I think
Okay.
the red-tailed hawk was like, going away, and then the crow kept pestering, and I think he finally got fed up and said, "Okay, fine," and just out of the air. I was like, "Wow."
Wow.
Alrighty, guys. So that is the end of our game. Let's
Who's
see.
the winner?
In third place, Illy.
Yay.
In second place, we have Violet.
Good job.
And in first place,
Amira.
Amira.
Yeah, she came back.
And runner-ups are Kenzie and our duo. So thank you guys so much for playing. This has been a lot of information on Kidspace and the different animals that live in the Arroyo. Sorry, gotta do the thing. Here we go. Okay, everyone. So thank you for playing, and thank you for coming out on a Sunday and spending time with us to learn about the Arroyo. If you guys are interested, we are running more of these different programs next month, and we also have our summer camp. So if you want to check out pasadenahumane.org, we have a lot of information about our upcoming events. And if you want to visit Kidspace, what was the website, Miguel?
Kidspacemuseum.org. And go there and they're time ticketing, or you could become a member and support us. Or come, once we open up the inside, we'll be able to visit with these guys more and more versus just doing them over Zoom. But like Izzy said, we'll be doing more of these together and collabing and doing releases with Lauren. So there'll be a lot of animal based content coming up down the line.
And it's all going to be really fun, guys. So once again, thanks for coming out and learning more about wildlife. And thank you, Miguel and Lauren. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Hope you guys learned a lot.
I know I did. Alrighty, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye, everyone.
Oh.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.